So you want to know how to get stronger? Well, today we are going to talk about the best strength method. Now, this is something that was a massive breakthrough for Rad and I, and it's been a big breakthrough for all of our tribe. Stick around because we're going to open up some insight bombs that you guys can think about, and we're also going to reveal the biggest mistake that we feel people made. It was certainly the biggest mistake we made, and we get a lot of questions asked about this. So, stick around till the end. All that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister, that's my brother Yanni Burmeister, and we are the co-founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, formerly the FMS, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And today we've got a really big show. It's come, we get a lot of questions, but this question that we got asked just the other day, and I can't remember who asked it, someone in our tribe, and it was something that I personally could really relate to. And Yanni said to me, what are we going to do a show on today? And the question was, I watched the press to handstand tutorial that we posted earlier this week, and I've been doing the workout, but when I try and do the eccentric press to handstand, so you need to watch that video to know what I'm talking about. You can go back to Monday and have a look at Monday's show. When I do the eccentric press to handstand, as soon as my legs get to 45 degrees, so not even halfway to where you're meant to be, my shoulders start giving away and I can't keep myself up. What do I need to do in order to get better at this? So that was the question, and we are going to delve deep into what that is.
Before we do, can we quickly do a sound check on Yanni's computer, because I'm not getting any sound.
I watched the press to handstand tutorial. Sorry about that, guys. We just had our sound producer here telling us that our morning quack, by the way, morning, that we weren't getting any sound, but it looks like we are. So,
it's not very good, the sound. It's very distorted.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just your computer or not. Yeah. Quack, can you tell us, does the sound distorted, brother? Give us a sound check, bro. Does it sound any better or worse or normal from what you're used to it sounding like? So, the short answer to the question is you need to get stronger. You're not strong enough to be doing the movement, and that is something that we are going to go deep into today. And I was about to throw the ball over to Yanni just there. That's probably what it is. Yanni's, sorry, we got two people trying to fix the problem now. We've got a lot of chiefs in here. So, yeah, the short answer is, the big problem that people face when they're trying to do movement skills like the press to handstand is that they jump into the skill way too early for themselves. And that is something that I can... Quack's saying no, it's clear. Yeah, Quack's saying that it's clear. Thanks, brother. So... it's a massive problem that people have. It's a problem that I definitely had. Yanni and I, the reason why the UMS program is what it is because Yanni and I sat at polar opposite ends of the spectrum. If being in the middle was a really balanced mover, Yanni was at the end of somebody that was ridiculously strong and very, very stiff and inflexible. And I was at the end of somebody that was very flexible and could move well, but was very weak. And we both had this really warped attitude where Yanni's attitude was that it was all about strength. You had to be as strong and muscly as possible. And my attitude was that it was all about the skill of movement and how well you could move. And eventually, we both came undone from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm sort of jumping in.
Okay, I'll keep going then. You can jump in as well. Much smoother sound now, he's saying.
Yeah, I think the gain was turned right up on the...
Look at how good the quality of our feed is now, Quack. Can you tell the difference, brother? I think we've finally figured out our technical issues.
Well, we just replaced like everything, so we should
we had an IT expert come in here and build us a whole new network with some really amazing gear. And when I look at the feed down there, it looks clearer than it's ever looked before. So
smoother and
oh
clearer.
God, let's hope that this really works. Yeah.
So anyway, and we're a bit late because of that. We had some last minute tech issues just to get things set up. But what we are planning is huge, and we'll get to that towards the end. What I want to talk about today, I want to break down. We've made some show notes. You can sort of bring me up to speed with how far you've gone with this, but one of the key, have you spoken about the key insight, which is to keep things simple?
No. You can start from the top.
So what we want to talk about today is the concept of keeping things simple when you're strength training. And, Rad, I heard, tipped a little bit on the fact that he really was sort of opposed to using barbells and basic strength training initially, because he was all about skill development, and I was the complete opposite. I was right into my weightlifting. I'd sort of dabbled in bodybuilding, powerlifting, and Olympic weightlifting, and I sort of went through phases of crossing between those styles of training. The difference really is that obviously Olympic weightlifting, you're doing snatch and power cleans and variations of that. I was very limited in the gym that I trained in. I couldn't dump the bar at very heavy weights, so I was in like a fitness first mainstream sort of franchise gym. So I was limited to that. So once I maxed out and got a decent snatch and power clean, and I got sick of having to put it down quietly, I sort of switched to like powerlifting, and I'd go undulate between really high intensity training in powerlifting and lots of rest and recovery between sets, low repetition style, to bodybuilding where it was just lots of volume, and that was usually around coinciding with summer and the months when I wanted to rip up and beef up. But I put very little context into skill-based training, and as a result, I neglected things like flexibility and just how my body felt and how my body performed outside of my gym environment. But, there were certain benefits to keeping it simple, and that was that I developed a lot of raw foundational strength. It took me quite a while to repair a lot of the damage I'd caused to get flexibility, and if I had have known what I was doing back then, I would have been balancing strength and flexibility a lot more. But there was a real element of the simplicity of my barbell training that carried over to calisthenics, and I think this is probably the biggest and most common mistake we see made, and you certainly made it. I made a different mistake, which was to neglect flexibility training, but the power of raw strength and the power of keeping it simple and greasing the groove early on in your training age is extremely beneficial.
So much more than what most people understand. I wouldn't say it's the most common mistake, because if we were talking about flexibility, we'd be talking about how not prioritizing flexibility and doing whatever is the most common mistake people make. But in terms of what we're talking about with today's show, it is such a common mistake, and it's something that people just don't get. I didn't get it, and I am still like with what happened with my shoulder this year, I'm reminded again of just the importance of just raw strength and just going back to the basics and just nailing that stuff. And if I had been even smarter with my conditioning, I wouldn't have done this injury with my shoulder, and that's a simple thing. And it didn't come down to I needed to do more advanced calisthenics movements. It came down to I needed to do more of the most basic strength training movements. Yeah. And when, I can't remember this guy's name, but when this guy said, what do I need to work on in order to get better at this eccentric press to handstand, my answer that I typed to him was, you need raw strength. So you need shoulder press, pull-ups, bench press,
deadlifts,
bent over row, deadlifts, trap 3 raise, external rotation. None of those, except for the shoulder press, is the only movement that, the shoulder press, the trap 3 raise, and the external rotation are the only moves that you can really directly say, well, that is going to help with your handstand because it's a pushing movement and it stabilizes the shoulder. But you can't say do one and not the others, because then you get imbalanced in the body. So the answer is raw strength, which is a really big thing. It's not a simple answer, which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants that simple answer. Like someone even said it to me this morning, what do I need to do? What's the one thing that I need to do to get better at this? And the answer was, there is no one thing. There's all of these different things that you need to do.
I would make it, if I had a gun pointed to my head and I had to make it simple, I would say deadlift. Fucking deadlift. Just the concept of, there was a somewhat of a debate on the Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks ago where a fairly well-known, famous strongman, was on the show, and he made a really outlandish claim, I believe, which was that unless you are a powerlifter and you want to be a professional powerlifter or strongman, you should not do deadlifts. The risk versus reward is just not right. And Joe Rogan was like almost knocked off his chair. He was like, "Are you fucking serious?" And he said, "Yeah, man, I've injured myself so many times doing big deadlifts, and I just think that the risk versus reward isn't there." Now, I would go so far as to say, I mean, this guy's a beast, and he'd outlift me any day of the week, probably with one hand tied behind his back. But these guys, they're training at an extremely high intensity all of the time, and they sacrifice health for their sport. Most athletes do to some degree. I'll probably get scolded for saying that, but it's the reality. Being a professional athlete doesn't mean that you're healthy. You're making huge sacrifices for your sport, and if you're not, you're never going to be a winner. You're never going to be at the top of your game. So there's a difference between being a professional athlete and being healthy. I don't think the two go hand in hand. Now, I totally disagree with this bloke. I can't remember his name. I'm not huge in the strongman circles. I don't follow it. It's not a sport that I follow. I've got a friend who trains strongmen, but that's about my biggest connection to it. And I'm in awe about what these guys do. But I completely disagree. I think there's nothing more empowering than learning how to pick something up and put it back down again. It is one of the most practical movements that you can teach. Like, what other movement that you can do in the gym that's simple in nature that you will actually have to do outside? I can guarantee you it's not bench press. Like, when's the last time you had to lay down on the floor and lift something off your chest? It's, squat is very practical, but in today's modern age, we don't often have to put something on our back and squat it up, but we always have to pick things up off the floor. Yep. And to say that that's a silly exercise to get strong at and to practice, I think is just ridiculous. It's ludicrous, So I would go so far as to say that if there was one thing that you could do that is going to have a profound impact on your overall strength, it is to deadlift. A couple of times a week.
Hey, Josh, come in for a sec. We're gonna get Josh in here for a quick shout out because I just can't believe how much clearer this is, and Josh is the man that did it for us. So we're just going to get him in here because we do have at least one of our fans on here. Josh, wave at the camera because we're on a live show now, and the quality of it is just so much better. And it's all thanks to this guy. He came in and set up. This is our IT expert.
Yeah, you might say
have to say hi, Josh. Yeah. This is delayed anyway. It comes up later. But yeah, so say hi, Josh.
Gentlemen.
Thanks, mate. Josh came in and fixed us up with an amazing setup here, so that's why our show is so much better. Look, it's really true. It's and it's something that I still am humbled by. I'm humbled by because it's something that I just didn't do for so long. I trained for 15 years. Longer, 20 years before I even picked up weights. I was always into martial arts and movement. Quack, to answer your question really quickly, I hurt my shoulder doing a planche, but it wasn't just that I was doing something. The main reason why I injured myself is because I warmed up, got into the hardest part of my workout, and I was training at home, and I let myself get distracted for about 20 minutes with my family, and then I came straight back into a working set where I was doing max strength effort on a planche, and I'd completely cooled down, and that's how I did it. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, and okay, I got 3 talking points I want to rip through in the next 5 minutes because we got to wrap this up, bring it in for a landing so Richie can go and train the guys out there. First and foremost, when you're strength training, exercise-specific warm-up is absolutely essential. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced level person, we follow a sequence of 4 reps at 50% of your maximum lift for the day, 3 reps at 70%, 2 reps at 90%, and 1 rep at the 100% point. Now, there's a caveat to that, and that is that we break the rule if you're lifting over about 80 to 100 kilos, in which case we always warm up on about 40 kilos as the first lift. 40 or 50,
and then you just go up by 20 kilos.
Slowly, incrementally bring it up. And the reason for that is, and we get this from some of the best powerlifters in the world, if you were
going to squat double body weight, which for me would be 170 kilos, it would mean that my opening squat, the first set I did was 85 kilos, and that's too much to go into.
Too heavy for the nervous
cold.
system when you're cold.
Yep.
So follow the four at 50, 3 at 70, 2 at 90, and 1 at 100. Unless you're going over 80 to 100 kilos, then start at 40 or 50 kilos.
I've got
every
something
time.
to add to that. In our experience, almost all injuries come from not warming up
Shitty
properly.
warm-up, yep.
Almost all. I won't say all.
Yeah.
I won't even say a percentage, but I'd say it's above 90%. They come from not warming up properly.
And it needs to be
And what happened with my
exercise-specific.
shoulder, so Quack, an example is I'd warmed up, I'd done half of my workout, but then I cooled down, so I needed to do another warm-up to get started again, and that's why I injured myself.
Yeah, and the warm-up becomes more and more prevalent and important as you age. Second, for beginners, and we get asked this all the time, what's the best exercise or method of exercise for beginners? Hands down, without doubt, unilateral movements are king. Choose dumbbells over barbells because we want to balance the body. We want to balance the extremities. We want symmetry as much as possible. You'll never be perfectly symmetrical, but we want left to right side symmetry. We want agonist to antagonist symmetry. We call that structural balance. And that ties into what's the best way to train for more advanced people. And we say, without doubt, you've got to use strength testing protocols. There are many out there. We have a brilliant one in our Strength Essentials course that we use, and it works really well. And you should be doing that at least at the start of every mesocycle or every second mesocycle to make sure that you're selecting movements in your program that are keeping you in structural balance. So once at the beginner level you achieve a decent level of desired structural balance, you want to maintain it. And it's always a cat and mouse game. If you're trying to get a bigger bench press, your rotator cuff muscles are going to lag after every big benching cycle. So you'll need to bring them back up again. And unless you're really, really good at programming to keep it all together and balanced, it's always going to be a little bit of cat and mouse. So those are the three biggest key points as far as strength training goes. As far as the key insight goes, it is to keep it simple, man. The three big lifts are extremely powerful. Getting good at bench press, getting good at squat, getting good at deadlift, it will carry over to everything. We are also very, very big on our structural balance, so agonist versus antagonist, push-pull patterns, squat bend patterns, squat hamstring patterns, that sort of thing. And then the biggest mistake I think that people are making, we certainly made it, is that neglecting the power of raw strength and how it carries over to every athletic discipline is extremely important. And if you're forgetting that, then you're probably leaving a lot of your performance potential on the table.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's something that we definitely see in the gym a lot because we're training people to be able to. Everybody wants to learn how to do a handstand or wants to learn a press to handstand or a muscle up or a planche or a lever or whatever it is that you want to learn, and at least the people that are coming into our ecosystem, but people just don't understand the importance of raw strength. And we, in Unity Gym, we hammer on about progressive overload and that people must be using progressive overload. And if you don't understand what that is, it's in our Strength and Flexibility Essentials mini course. But in a nutshell, it means that every single workout, you're either increasing the intensity or increasing the volume. So you're always seeing improvements. And people still get it wrong. People still don't understand it, and they just sit on the same weight for weeks and weeks on end.
Yeah. All right, guys. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the best strength exercise, and I think you're gonna really like this. And then on Friday we're going deep into the best strength program, and that's something that you cannot miss. So let's keep this discussion on strength training going. We've had so many questions come in about this, and although we are massive advocates of calisthenics, we do love going back to barbells and basics every once in a while. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. See you soon, Quark. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.